I never imagined the day would come when I'd feel like a stranger in my own home. Yet here I am, propped up in the living room that once smelled of fresh coffee and warm cinnamon rolls on Sunday mornings, now reeking of antiseptic and the stale air of lost memories. My name is Lorraine Harper, and this is the story of how they replaced me. It started with the quiet shuffle of feet across the hardwood floor, feet that didn't belong to me or my children. Eleanor's footsteps, steady and patient, echo like a metronome in a house that used to be alive with laughter. She's the full-time nurse, as my daughter calls her. Hired help, they said, to make things easier. For them, not for me. I watch her as she moves about, methodically adjusting the IV stand that stands sentry beside my chair. Her hands are quick, clinical. She speaks in soft clipped tones, her words carefully measured. She calls me Mrs. Harper, like she's trying to be polite, but each time she says it, I feel the gap widen between who I am and who I'm allowed to be. I'm not sure if it's worse that she's so gentle with me, like I'm already a relic of the past. Once, this room was my sanctuary. Floral curtains framing the sunlight, the crackling fireplace on cold nights, and the laughter of children echoing off the walls. Now, sterile sheets and a folding tray clutter the space. The shelves are lined with bottles of pills instead of dusty novels. It's not a home anymore. It's a hospital in disguise. Valerie said this was for my own good. My daughter has a way of making everything sound like a favor, even as she takes pieces of me away. She breezed in here with her clipboard and her bright lipstick, telling me I needed someone to watch over me, someone to make sure I took my medication on time, someone to keep the place clean and orderly. She said it like a promise, but it felt like a betrayal. Valerie is a woman who measures everything in neat, precise lines, efficiency over empathy, control over comfort. She's always been that way, even as a little girl tidying her room until it looked like a magazine cover. I suppose I taught her that. My own mother drilled it into me too. A woman must endure, must smile through the hurt, must not let the cracks show. I see it in Valerie's eyes, the cold steel glint of someone who's learned to keep the world at bay by staying in control. I tried to talk to her, tried to tell her that I felt like a guest in my own life, but she brushed it off with a pat on my hand. "This is for the best, Mom," she said. "Eleanor will take good care of you." She doesn't see the way Eleanor's eyes flicker with a kind of pity that makes my stomach churn. Jackson, my son, sits on the edge of the couch sometimes, his face a carefully constructed mask. He doesn't argue with Valerie, doesn't stand up for me. He just watches, eyes shifting from me to Eleanor and back again, like he's weighing everything but saying nothing. He's always been the peacemaker, the one who tries to smooth over the rough edges. But there are some things you can't smooth out, no matter how hard you try. My own body has become an untrustworthy vessel. My hands, once capable of so much, now tremble as I reach for the glass of water Eleanor places by my side. My legs, once strong enough to chase after children and carry groceries up the stairs, now ache with every movement. I feel like I'm disappearing inside myself, like each breath is a small surrender to the world that's closing in around me. I hate this feeling of dependence. I hate needing Eleanor's calm voice and steady hands. But what I hate most of all is the way everyone seems to believe I'm already gone, as if I'm just waiting for the final chapter to be written by someone else. I won't let them write my ending. I see the family photo hanging on the wall, my children as toddlers, all toothy grins and sticky hands. Peter's arm draped around my shoulder, his smile wide and bright. That photo is the only piece of the past they haven't packed away or replaced. It's a reminder of who I used to be, the center of this family, the glue that held us all together. Eleanor doesn't say much, but sometimes I catch her watching me with a softness in her eyes that I don't understand. I wonder if she sees me as a job or as a person. I wonder if she knows how it feels to be replaced. I lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, the moonlight carving patterns across the plaster. I think about the safe in the study, the one that still holds my will, the one they don't know I've decided to change. If they can replace me with a nurse, I can replace them with someone who has truly shown up, someone who sees me, even in the quiet, even in the dark. I tell myself this every night. If I can't be valued, I will reclaim my own power. It's a mantra that keeps me awake, a promise I whisper into the silence. They think they've won because they've taken away my voice. But they don't know that my voice isn't gone. It's just waiting. There's an eerie calm in this house now. Eleanor's steady breathing as she tends to me, the faint hum of the oxygen concentrator in the corner, the ticking of the clock on the mantel. Each sound is a thread in the tapestry of my new reality, one that I didn't choose, but one I will find a way to shape. I watch the shadows flicker on the walls, watch the moonlight dance across Eleanor's face as she adjusts my blanket. She's the caretaker, the gatekeeper of my final days, but she's also something else. Something I haven't fully understood yet. Maybe she's the witness I've been waiting for. Or maybe she's another piece of the puzzle I'll need to solve. I'm not ready to fade away. Not yet. This is my story, and I will tell it in my own voice, even if it's the last thing I do. The world outside my window moves on without me. Cars passing by, children's laughter drifting through the spring air. But in here, in this room, I am still here. I will not let them erase me. This is the beginning of my final chapter, and I intend to write it myself. The days begin to blur together in this house that no longer feels like mine. Eleanor's presence has become as much a part of my world as the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. She moves with a quiet efficiency, gliding from one task to the next, checking my blood pressure, adjusting my oxygen, wiping down every surface until it gleams. The scent of antiseptic seeps into the walls, drowning out the lingering traces of vanilla candles and the comforting aroma of home-cooked meals. I watch her as she works, her hands steady and practiced. Her fingers, always so sure, contrast with my own trembling ones. When I reach for the cup of water, she leaves by my bed. My hand shakes so badly I nearly spill it. She pretends not to notice, but I see the flicker of concern in her eyes. Or is it pity? I can't tell anymore. Eleanor's polite, her voice always calm, always soft. She speaks to me as if I'm something fragile, something that might break if she raises her voice. "It's time for your medication, Mrs. Harper," she says, each word measured, every syllable gentle. Sometimes I want to scream to remind her I am still here, still alive, still me. But the words die in my throat before they ever reach my lips. I try to reach out to Valerie and Jackson, desperate to remind them that I am more than a patient to be managed. Valerie's visits are brisk and controlled, her phone always buzzing in her hand. She stands at the foot of my bed, eyes scanning the room, never quite meeting mine. "Are you comfortable, Mom?" she asks, her voice dripping with forced sweetness. She doesn't wait for an answer before turning to Eleanor with precise instructions. "Make sure she's eating enough protein. Keep her propped up at night." Her words slice through me, a performance of care that never reaches her eyes. She speaks over me, around me, never to me. It's as if I've become part of the furniture, an old chair they keep around out of obligation. Jackson, sweet Jackson, tries to be gentle. He sits by my side, his hands folded in his lap, his gaze flitting to the door as if he's already half gone. "How are you feeling, Mom?" he asks. The question is a ghost, a shadow of what I need him to say. I tell him I'm lonely. I tell him I feel like I'm disappearing. He nods, but his eyes are vacant. I see the fear there, the fear of what it would mean to really look at me, to really see how far I've fallen. In the quiet hours of the night, I think about the woman my mother raised me to be, how she taught me that a woman's worth is in her silence, in her ability to endure. "Don't complain," she'd say. "Be grateful, don't make a fuss." I learned to swallow my pain, to smile through the cracks. I passed that on to Valerie, though I never meant to. I wonder if she hates me for it. I wonder if I hate myself. Eleanor's movements are a silent metronome in my life now. She folds laundry with quick, precise flicks of her wrist, tucks the corners of my sheets as if she's performing a sacred ritual. I watch her hands, so sure, so calm, while mine tremble on my lap. Her presence is both a comfort and a reminder of everything I've lost. The days grow long, the conversations short. Valerie's visits are measured in minutes, not hours. She smiles that tight, brittle smile, always ready to leave. "Don't worry, Mom," she says. "Eleanor's here to take care of everything." The words feel like chains, like an admission that I no longer matter in my own story. Jackson lingers longer, but even he is slipping away. He brings me flowers, lilies, my favorite, but he never meets my eyes for more than a heartbeat. Mom, he says, voice trembling, I just want what's best for you. I want to tell him that what's best for me is for them to see me, to hear me, but the words feel too heavy, too tangled in the past. Mr. Collins visits on Thursdays. He sits across from me in the parlor, his leather briefcase resting beside his chair. He doesn't ask me how I'm feeling. He doesn't pretend everything is fine. Instead, he listens. He watches. He becomes my silent confidant, the only one who seems to understand that this isn't about pills or oxygen tanks. It's about me. Lorraine, he says quietly one afternoon, you know your rights. You know your voice still matters. His words are a balm, a reminder that I am not powerless, even if I feel it in every aching joint. I glance at the safe in the study every time Mr. Collins comes. It's a small, heavy thing tucked behind the old oak desk. Inside is the original will, my last piece of control. I haven't told Valerie or Jackson that I'm thinking of changing it. I haven't told them that I refuse to be erased. That secret, for now, is mine alone. Valerie doesn't suspect. She breezes in and out of the house with the confidence of someone who believes they're already in control. She gives Eleanor instructions in front of me, as if I'm not even there. Make sure she gets the good sheets, she says one morning. She always liked the ones with the blue flowers. Her voice is syrupy sweet, but I hear the steel underneath. Eleanor nods, her face a mask of calm. Of course, Miss Harper, she says. She never contradicts, never questions. But when Valerie leaves, she lingers by my side a moment longer, her fingers brushing mine as she adjusts my blanket. It's a small gesture, but it reminds me that I'm still here, that I'm still worth a gentle touch. I find myself caught between love and resentment. I love my children, of course I do, but each day that passes with their cold smiles and careful distance, I feel something in me harden. I remember how I spent years holding them close, how I gave everything I had to them. Now they treat me like a responsibility to be managed. In the evenings, Eleanor helps me to the table for dinner. The table is set with crystal glasses and silverware that glint in the low light. Valerie sits at the head, posture perfect, voice low and precise as she quizzes Eleanor about my care. Jackson says little, his eyes fixed on the tablecloth. It's during one of these dinners that the first real crack appears. Eleanor, tired perhaps, or just careless, lets slip a truth that slices through the calm. I thought it was so generous of Valerie to sell the old house, she says, her voice a soft, offhand comment as she clears the dishes. The words hang in the air, sharp and cold. I freeze. My childhood home? The place where I learned to ride a bike? Where my mother taught me to bake bread? Where my father read me stories by the fire? Gone? Sold without a word to me? I turn to Valerie, my voice shaking. You sold it? I ask, though I already know the answer. Valerie's face goes pale, her eyes flickering with something like guilt before she smooths it away. It was just a house, Mom, she says quietly. We needed the money for your care. Just a house, just another thing to be discarded like me. I feel the weight of it all settle in my chest, pressing down until I can barely breathe. My childhood, my memories, all of it reduced to dollars and cents. Betrayal tastes like iron on my tongue. That night I lie awake, the memory of Eleanor's slip of the tongue playing over and over in my mind. I realize, with a clarity that cuts through the haze of my daily routines, this isn't about care, it's about control. Valerie has already begun to erase the life I built, piece by piece, and if I let her, she'll erase me too. But I won't let that happen. I won't let them decide how my story ends. Sometimes, late at night when the world is quiet and Eleanor's soft breathing is the only sound in the house, I drift back to a time when the seeds of all this were planted. I see it as clearly as if it were happening now. The cold kitchen of my childhood, the sharp scent of lemons in the air, and my mother's tight-lipped smile. My mother was a woman carved from ice. She never raised her voice, never allowed a hair out of place. She believed that control was the only way to survive in a world that wanted to break you. A woman must endure, she'd say, her voice clipped and final. Don't give them a reason to find you weak. She was the queen of polite silences and bitter tea, her approval meted out in small, cold doses. My father was a man who spoke in nods and grunts. He'd come home from work each night, a quiet mountain of a man, and I'd watch him from the doorway, hoping he might notice me. When he did, it was with a small smile, fleeting and distant, as if he were already somewhere else. He'd pat my head once in a while, as though that was enough to sustain me. I learned to swallow my feelings early, to tuck them away behind neat pleats and perfect posture. My mother taught me how to make a house feel warm without ever letting me feel warm inside. My father taught me that a woman's worth was measured in the way she kept her head down and her mouth shut. Their lessons wrapped around my bones until they became a part of me. In the old photo albums that sit on the shelf behind me, there are pictures of family vacations, smiling faces frozen in time, the ocean at our backs, the bright sun in our eyes. But if you look closer, you'll see the strain behind those smiles, the way my mother's hand grips my shoulder just a little too tight, the way my father's eyes are always just a little too far away. I see myself in those photographs, a little girl in a sailor dress, my braids neat and my knees scraped from climbing too high in the apple tree. I remember thinking that if I could be perfect enough, quiet enough, maybe they'd see me. Maybe they'd love me in the way I craved but never dared to ask for. When I met Peter, I thought I'd found something different. He was charming in the way some men are, soft words and gentle touches that felt like promises. But underneath, he was as distant as my father, always half a step away, his mind elsewhere. At first, I thought it was the world's way of testing me. Be patient, I told myself. Good wives endure. That's what my mother would have said after all. I remember sitting with Peter on the front porch of our first house, the scent of fresh paint still clinging to the walls. "You're quiet tonight," he said, his voice soft and distracted, eyes fixed on the horizon. I wanted to tell him how lonely I felt, how the weight of this house and this life felt like too much for my shoulders. But I didn't. I just smiled and said, "I'm fine." Because that's what I'd been taught. And so we lived our lives in parallel, two people bound together by duty and habit, not by the warmth of real connection. He'd come home from work, kiss my cheek like it was a chore, and I'd serve dinner with a smile. The distance between us grew until it was a canyon too wide to cross, too deep to climb out of. I wonder sometimes if Valerie and Jackson could feel it, even when they were small, if they saw the way their father's eyes slid past me, the way my smile was never quite real. I tried so hard to break the pattern, to be the mother who hugged too tightly, who listened to every scraped knee and broken heart. But somewhere along the way, I became my mother without meaning to. I taught them to endure in silence just as I had been taught. I see it in Valerie most of all. She wears her independence like armor, her voice always calm, her movements precise. She learned from me that a woman doesn't need anyone, that vulnerability is weakness. I wanted her to be strong, but I never meant for her to be so cold. It's a truth that sits heavy in my chest, my love twisted into something that only taught her to push people away. Jackson was always different. He wore his heart on his sleeve, a gentle boy with soft eyes and a soft voice. I tried to nurture that in him, but even then, I was too busy trying to keep the walls from crumbling. I see now how he learned to retreat, to hold his love close, to offer it in careful, measured pieces. My memories of Peter come back to me in fragments. Sunday afternoon spent in the garden, the sharp scent of freshly cut grass, the weight of his hand on my shoulder as we watched the children play. "You're a good mother, Lorraine," he'd say, but there was no warmth in it, no real belief. It was just another line in the script we both pretended to believe. One night, not long before he died, I remember sitting across from him in the kitchen. The light above us flickered, casting shadows on his tired face. "Do you ever wonder if we got it all wrong?" I asked, my voice so small it barely reached him. He didn't look up from his coffee. "It's too late to wonder now," he said quietly, and that was the end of it. I carry that moment with me, the final nail in the coffin of a life built on half-truths and polite silences. I see how the patterns repeat, how I raised Valerie to be as unyielding as her grandmother, how Jackson learned to fade into the background just as I had. The shame of it is a weight I can't seem to shake, a quiet guilt that hums beneath every breath I take. But there's also a small ember of something else, a longing for redemption, for a chance to break the cycle before it swallows me whole. I look at the faded photographs on the mantel, the hollow smiles of my past, and I whisper promises to the woman I used to be, that it's not too late, that I can still choose something different, even if it's only for myself. I see Eleanor moving through the room, her quiet presence both comforting and unsettling. She is a witness to all of it, the past that clings to me like a second skin, the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, I can still find a way to be seen. The roots of my pain run deep, but I refuse to let them define my final chapter. I have been invisible for too long, swallowed by the silence I inherited and the mistakes I made. But now, in this house that feels more like a memory than a home, I am learning to let my voice rise above the quiet. The night I decide to update my will is one of those nights where sleep refuses to come, and every tick of the clock seems louder than the last. The moonlight drips through the curtains, silver and cold, and I can feel the weight of Eleanor's accidental confession pressing down on my chest like a stone. She didn't mean to let it slip, I'm sure of that. But once the words were out, they couldn't be pulled back. My childhood home, sold without a word to me, stripped away like it was just another possession to be shuffled around. The realization left me reeling, my breath caught somewhere in my throat. In the quiet that followed, a single thought formed sharp and clear. If they could erase the home that built me, they could erase me too, and I wouldn't let that happen. I call Mr. Collins the next morning, my voice trembling with the weight of a decision I've been too afraid to make until now. He doesn't ask why I need to see him. He knows me well enough to hear the steel beneath my fear. When he arrives, he carries that same calm with him, his briefcase a shield, his careful gaze a promise. We sit in the small, wood-paneled study that once belonged to Peter. The air smells faintly of old leather and lemon oil, a scent that takes me back to days when this house was alive with laughter. Now, the only sound is the soft crackle of the fireplace, the flames throwing shadows that dance across the walls. I've thought a lot about this, I say, though my voice is small and uncertain. My hands tremble as I clasp them together in my lap. I can't keep pretending that Valerie and Jackson will do what's right. They've already shown me who they are. Mr. Collins nods, his eyes kind but serious. You're sure this is what you want, Lorraine? I take a breath, the air filling my lungs with resolve. I'm sure. They've replaced me with someone who sees me as a duty. But Eleanor, she's the only one who's really here. She sees me. She doesn't look away. He opens his briefcase, the click of the latch echoing in the small room. The papers he lays out on the desk are stark in their finality, white against the dark wood. My heart pounds as I pick up the pen, the candlelight flickering in the corner, casting long, wavering shadows across the page. I need you to witness this, I tell him, my voice steadier than I feel. I need you to make sure it's done properly. I won't let them steal what little I have left. Of course, he says softly. This is your decision and yours alone. As I sign each page, my hand shakes, but there's a strange thrill beneath the fear, an empowering rush I haven't felt in years. It's as if, in this one small act, I'm reclaiming the part of myself that has been lost in the shuffle of pills and polite silences. The candlelight flickers, throwing my shadow across the wall, tall and defiant. For the first time in a long time, I see myself not as a burden, but as a woman taking back her own story. I pause, the pen hovering over the last signature line. Do you think they'll contest it? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Collins's face softens. They might, but this document is ironclad, Lorraine, and I'll be here to make sure your wishes are honored. I nod, drawing in a shaky breath as I sign my name one last time. My signature curls across the page like a final act of defiance, a promise to myself that I won't be erased. We sit in silence for a moment, the weight of what I've done settling over me like a heavy quilt. The room feels both smaller and larger all at once, the shadows growing longer as the candle burns lower. I hope they understand one day, I murmur, more to myself than to him. I hope they see that this wasn't about punishment. It was about finally being seen. Mr. Collins closes the folder with a soft thump. Sometimes, Lorraine, the only way to be heard is to speak in a language they can't ignore. The words settle into my bones, a quiet comfort. I know there will be consequences. There always are when a woman steps out of the shadows. But the fear no longer feels like a chain around my throat. It feels like something I can carry, something I can survive. As Mr. Collins leaves, I sit alone in the study, the candle's flame flickering low. The safe in the corner of the room seems to glow in the dim light, a silent witness to my decision. Inside, the new will rests, a testament to the woman I've decided to be. But that night, as the house grows quiet and Eleanor tucks me into bed with her usual gentle efficiency, I hear something that chills me to the bone. I wake to the sound of her voice, low and urgent, coming from the kitchen. I strain to hear, my breath caught in my chest. Yes, she's becoming more suspicious, Eleanor says, her voice muffled but unmistakable. We'll need to move quickly if we're going to have her declared incompetent. My heart stutters, a cold spike of fear shooting through me. She's talking to Valerie. Know it by the way she says we. My pulse hammers in my ears as I realize the truth. Eleanor, the one I thought had shown up for me, is part of their plan. I lie back against the pillows, the taste of betrayal bitter on my tongue. The room feels suddenly smaller, the shadows darker and more menacing. The will I signed tonight is a shield, but it's also a target. I know now that they'll stop at nothing to take it from me. I close my eyes, forcing myself to breathe slowly, evenly. Time is running out. They think I'm too weak to fight back, too lost in my own frailty to see what's happening. But they're wrong. I see it all now, clear as the candle's dying light. They've underestimated me for the last time.
The days that follow blur together like a watercolor left out in the rain. Each hour feels heavy with the weight of what I heard in the kitchen that night. Eleanor's voice, low and urgent, planning my erasure with Valerie. My mind replays those words over and over until they're etched into the walls of my memory. I find myself watching Eleanor more closely now, every polite smile and gentle gesture suspect. The woman who once seemed like a quiet haven in my shrinking world has become a puzzle I can't solve. Is she truly kind, or is she just another piece of Valerie's plan? The flickering hallway lights become my constant companions in the long, sleepless nights. I lie in bed and listen to the echo of footsteps in the dead of night, each creak of the floorboards sending a fresh spike of panic through my chest. Is it Eleanor moving through the house with her practiced calm, or is it something else, someone else, lurking in the shadows of my mind? I decide to test her, small things at first, little traps to see if she'll slip. I pretend to forget my medication, watching her eyes as she corrects me in that soft, unwavering voice. I hide a small silver spoon under the blankets, a keepsake from my wedding, and wait to see if she notices. She does, but she says nothing, just places it back on the nightstand with a quiet sigh. One morning she brings me fresh flowers, sunflowers, bright and golden, a splash of summer against the dull gray of the room. I thought you might like a bit of color, she says, her voice warm, her eyes searching mine. For a moment, I'm disarmed by her kindness, but the doubt festers in the back of my mind, whispering that kindness can be a weapon, too. Jackson visits more often now, but even he seems like a stranger. He sits in the chair by my bed, his hands twisting in his lap, his eyes distant. I try to draw him out, to find some glimmer of the boy he used to be. Jackson, I say, my voice thin, do you remember how you used to sneak into my bed after nightmares? You always said my heartbeat made you feel safe. He smiles faintly, but it doesn't reach his eyes. Of course, Mom, he says. Of course I remember. But then he looks away, the silence between us stretching like a wound. He's here, but he's not. And I wonder if he's afraid of what he might see if he looks too closely. Mr. Collins becomes my lifeline in these uncertain days. He visits in the late afternoons, his briefcase always resting at his side, his eyes steady and unwavering. We speak in careful, coded phrases, my questions wrapped in layers of polite conversation, his answers just as carefully veiled. I worry, I say softly one day, my fingers drumming against the armrest of my chair, about whether my wishes will be properly respected. His gaze meets mine, steady and calm. Your wishes are clear, Lorraine, and I am here to see them honored. The words are a quiet promise, a tether to the world beyond this house. I cling to those words, even as the doubt coils tighter around my heart. I can't shake the feeling that everyone is conspiring against me, that every smile hides a knife. The shadows in this house have grown long, and I can feel them creeping closer each night. Eleanor moves through the house like a ghost, her quiet footsteps soft on the worn hardwood floors. She hums sometimes as she works, a low, tuneless melody that fills the empty spaces of my mind. I watch her hands as she folds my clothes, as she spoons soup into my mouth, and I wonder if those hands are capable of betrayal. One night, I wake to find her standing by the window, the moonlight casting her face in pale relief. "Can't sleep?" she asks, her voice soft and gentle. "I haven't slept in years," I whisper back, my voice trembling with the weight of everything unsaid. She sits on the edge of my bed, her hands folded in her lap. "You're safe here, Mrs. Harper," she says. But the words feel hollow, echoing in the hollow space of my chest. I start to keep a notebook tucked beneath my pillow, small and leather-bound. In it, I write down every word, every glance, every moment that doesn't sit right. I document it all, my own private record of the ways the world is slipping out of my hands. Jackson notices the change in me. "Mom, you're so quiet lately," he says one evening, his voice filled with a worry he doesn't quite understand. "Is everything all right?" I want to tell him the truth, that everything feels like it's unraveling, that I don't know who to trust, that even the walls of this house seem to lean in closer with every breath, but I only smile, that brittle smile I learned from my mother. "I'm fine, Jackson, just tired." He doesn't push. He never does. And I hate him a little for that. Hate the way he lets me lie to him so easily. The flowers Eleanor brought begin to wilt in their vase, petals curling in on themselves like they're trying to hide from the world. I watch them droop and fade. Зрение – тихие напоминания о том, как быстро яркое может увядать в неправильном свете. In the evenings, when Mr. Collins comes, I press him for reassurances. "You'll protect what I've written," I say, my voice low, my eyes fixed on the safe in the corner of the study. "No matter what they try to do." "I will," he says, his voice firm. "They can't take your voice away, Lorraine. Not anymore." But I see the worry in his eyes, the way his fingers tighten around the handle of his briefcase. He knows as well as I do that the truth is rarely enough to protect you from those who are determined to bury it. The more I watch Eleanor, the more I see the cracks in her calm. Some mornings, her eyes are shadowed, her mouth set in a thin line. When she brings me my breakfast, she lingers by the window, staring out at the garden as if she's searching for something she can't find. I test her again, leaving a note under my pillow. "Who are you, really?" When she finds it, she says nothing, just tucks it back where she found it and smooths the blankets around me. Her silence is a language I'm still learning to translate. The house is filled with quiet sounds that only I seem to hear, the soft sigh of the wind against the windows, the distant creak of the floorboards, the faint echo of voices I can't quite place. Some nights I think I'm losing my mind. Other nights, I think I'm finally seeing things clearly. I tell myself that I'm gathering proof, that if they try to take everything from me, I'll have my own weapons to fight back. My notebook becomes my shield, each word a small act of defiance. I may be weak in body, but my mind is still sharp, still mine. But even as I plan, even as I watch and wait, there's a part of me that still wants to believe in Eleanor's kindness. In the way she adjusts my pillows just so, in the way she hums when she thinks I'm asleep. I want to believe that she's different, that maybe, in this house of careful lies, she's the one person who sees me for who I am. I don't know if that hope is a strength or a weakness, but I hold on to it, even as the doubt grows louder. The storm outside is a living thing, rain hammering against the windows with a fury that matches the chaos in my chest. The sky is dark, the thunder rolling low and relentless. It feels like the house itself is holding its breath, waiting for the blow that's been coming for so long. Valerie stands across from me in the parlor, her arms folded tight against her chest, her lips pressed into a hard, thin line. Her hair, always perfectly in place, is damp from the rain, clinging to her face in dark tendrils. I see the flicker of something in her eyes, anger, yes, but something else too, hurt. Why? I demand, my voice shaking. Why didn't you tell me about the house, about everything? Why are you doing this to me? She laughs, but it's a hollow sound, brittle and sharp. Doing this to you. Her eyes are bright with unshed tears. You think this is about you, Mom? You think I wanted any of this? I feel the words land heavy in the air, and for a moment, neither of us speaks. The rain beats against the glass in a steady rhythm, a drum that underscores every jagged breath. I've spent my whole life taking care of everyone else, she spits out finally, her voice cracking. After Dad died, you shut yourself away. Do you even remember those years? Do you know what it felt like to come here every day, to make sure you were still breathing while you sat there like a ghost? I was grieving, I whisper, my voice small. The words feel weak, a hollow excuse. And I wasn't, she snaps, her face flushed. I lost him too, but I didn't get to disappear. I didn't get to hide from the world. I had to keep going. I had to be strong. The truth of her words hits me like a slap. I see her not as the cold, controlling woman I've resented for so long, but as a child who never got to be a child. A woman who learned, just like I did, that strength means never showing how much it hurts. I thought I was doing what was right, I say, my voice thick with tears. I thought if I just held on, if I didn't break, then everything would be okay. That's what my mother taught me. That's what I taught you. She shakes her head, her lips trembling. You didn't teach me how to be strong, Mom. You taught me how to pretend. You taught me how to hide everything that matters. The room seems to tilt around us, the air heavy with the weight of everything we've never said. The storm outside rages on, lightning illuminating Valerie's face in flashes of white and shadow. I know I failed you, I whisper, my voice breaking. I see it now. I see how my silence became your silence, and I'm sorry, Valerie, I'm so sorry. For a moment she softens, her shoulders sagging as the tears slip free. I didn't want to be like you, she says, her voice barely audible, but I didn't know how to be anything else. I'm going to break the cycle, I say, the words a promise to her, to myself.
Even if it means letting you go, I won't let this legacy of silence and control pass on any longer. Valerie looks at me then, really looks at me, and I see the little girl she used to be, the one who clung to my skirts, who wanted so badly to be held. I reach for her hand, but she pulls away, her face hardening again. I can't do this anymore, she says, her voice steady now, the storm inside her banked and cold. I've spent too long trying to fix what can't be fixed. She turns and walks out of the room, her footsteps echoing in the quiet that follows. The rain outside seems to soften as she goes, the house exhaling with her departure. Eleanor stands in the doorway, her expression unreadable. She's been listening. I know it by the way her eyes flick to mine, soft and knowing. She doesn't speak, but there's something in the way she lingers, the way she adjusts the vase of flowers on the table, as if to give me a moment to gather myself. She's angry, I say, my voice rough from crying. But I think she's also right. Eleanor nods slowly, her eyes gentle. Sometimes the hardest truths are the ones we've been carrying the longest, she says softly. I watch her as she leaves the room, her movements careful, almost reverent. For a moment, I let myself believe she's on my side, that she sees me not as a burden, but as a woman finally learning how to speak. But later that night, as the house settles into uneasy silence, I find something that shatters that fragile hope. It's a small black camera, no bigger than a matchbox, tucked discreetly in the corner of my bookshelf. My breath catches in my throat as I stare at it, the blinking red light like a heartbeat in the darkness. I feel the walls of the house close in around me, the shadows stretching long and cold. Eleanor, she's been recording everything. Every conversation, every tearful confession. My mind reels with the implications. Was she ever really on my side? Or has she been playing a part this whole time, just another actor in Valerie's carefully crafted play? I pick up the camera, my fingers trembling. The weight of it is small, but it feels like the final betrayal. My trust, once so fragile, now feels like something that can never be given freely again. I sit back on the bed, the storm outside a distant whisper now. My heart pounds in my chest as I stare into the darkness, my mind spinning with questions I can't answer. Is Eleanor my friend or my jailer? Has she been sent to care for me or to control me? The doubt gnaws at the edges of my sanity, but one thing is clear. I can't trust anyone anymore. I clutch the camera to my chest, my tears falling silent in the dark. In this house of secrets and half-truths, I know I must find my own way forward. Because if I can't trust them, then the only person I can trust is myself. The camera sits on the edge of my nightstand like a silent accusation. Each time I look at it, my pulse quickens and my breath turns shallow. I try to sleep, but the darkness feels alive with the weight of everything I don't know. Every secret that's been hidden in this house for far too long. I can't stop thinking about Eleanor's soft voice, the gentle way she tucked me in at night, how her hands never trembled. Was it all a lie? My mind spins in circles, questions gnawing at me like rats in the walls. I need answers, and I know where to find them. When the house finally falls quiet, when even the shadows seem to be holding their breath, I slip out of bed. My legs ache with the effort, my fingers numb with cold, but I move like a woman possessed. The hallway light flickers above me, a dim, sputtering glow that casts long shadows down the corridor. Eleanor's room is at the end of the hall, the door always slightly ajar, as if she's daring me to cross the threshold. My hand shakes as I push it open, the faint scent of lavender soap wrapping around me like a memory I can't quite place. The room is neat, almost too neat. The bed is made with military precision, the dresser top bare except for a single silver brush and a small bottle of perfume. But it's the dresser drawers that call to me, the secrets I know must be hidden there. I start rifling through them, my hands clumsy with desperation. Soft cotton nightgowns, neatly folded, a stack of letters tied with a red ribbon, no names, no return addresses. My breath comes in short, ragged gasps as I flip through them, each one written in careful, looping script I don't recognize. One letter catches my eye. It's older, the paper yellowed at the edges, the ink faded. It reads like a confession, though the words are cryptic. She doesn't know the half of it. The past never really dies. My fingers tighten around the paper, my mind racing. Who is it about? Who is it from? I dig deeper, the smell of lavender growing stronger, the weight of each breath heavier in my chest. My hands close around a small leather-bound journal, the cover worn and cracked. Inside, the pages are filled with half-finished thoughts, lists of medications and careful observations about me. Mrs. Harper seems increasingly suspicious. One entry reads, "Must remain patient. Must not let her see." My vision swims with rage and fear. My world tilts on its axis. I hear the echo of my mother's voice in my head, cold and certain. Don't ask questions you don't want answered. But I can't stay silent. Not anymore. I hear a noise behind me. Footsteps, soft but deliberate. I turn, my heart slamming in my chest. It's Ruth, my neighbor, standing in the doorway. She's lived next door for as long as I can remember, a quiet woman with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. She looks at me now with a mixture of pity and something like fear. "Lorraine," she says softly, "what are you doing in here?" I clutch the journal to my chest, my voice shaking. "I need to know the truth, Ruth, about Eleanor, about everything." She steps into the room, glancing over her shoulder as if the walls themselves might be listening. "There's talk in the neighborhood," she says, her voice low. They say your daughter, Valerie, she's not the only one who's been making plans. I swallow hard, the words sticking in my throat. What are you saying? Ruth's eyes flick to the journal, then back to mine. I'm saying there's more to Eleanor than you know. She's connected somehow to the old family secrets, to the things your mother never wanted anyone to know. My skin prickles with cold. What things? She shakes her head, her mouth tightening. Ask her, Lorraine, but be careful. Some secrets are meant to stay buried. I'm left alone in Eleanor's room, the weight of Ruth's words pressing down on me like a stone. I sit on the edge of the bed, the journal clutched in my lap, the lavender scent suffocating. My mind whirls with questions, each one darker than the last. When Eleanor returns later that night, I'm waiting for her. My voice is calm, but my hands won't stop trembling. Eleanor, I say, my tone sharper than I mean it to be. Why was there a camera in my room? She freezes, her eyes flicking to mine, then away. It was for your safety, she says after a moment, her voice too careful. Valerie asked me to keep an eye on you. She was worried. Worried? I spit the word out like poison. Or was she just trying to control me? Eleanor sighs, her shoulders slumping. It's not as simple as you think. Then tell me, I demand, my voice cracking. Tell me the truth. She hesitates, her lips parting as if to speak, but then she closes them again. It's complicated, she says finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I can't tell you everything. The evasiveness in her voice is worse than any confession. My hands tighten around the journal, the fear in my chest turning to something hard and cold. I trusted you, I say, my voice breaking. I let you in, and all this time, you've been spying on me. Eleanor's face softens, her eyes glistening. I never wanted to hurt you, Lorraine, I swear, but I had to protect you, even if it meant keeping things from you. The words sting, but there's a flicker of something in her eyes, something that almost looks like guilt, or maybe it's just another layer of the lie. After she leaves, I sit in the quiet, the storm outside finally dying down. The house feels too still, the air too heavy. I can hear my mother's voice in my head again. A woman's place is to endure, not to question. But I'm done enduring. I'm done being silent. I tuck the journal into my nightstand, my decision made. I will risk everything to expose the truth, even if it means tearing down the walls of this house and everything it stands for. I will not let my voice be silenced, not by Valerie, not by Eleanor, not by anyone. The weight of generations of silence hangs heavy on my shoulders, but I feel something else too. Something fierce and bright, the determination to be heard no matter the cost. The storm outside has grown into a fury, wind howling like a wounded animal as rain lashes against the windows. The lights flicker and groan under the strain, plunging the house into darkness for long, breathless moments before sputtering back to life. It feels as if the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for the final blow to fall. Eleanor is standing in the doorway, framed by the flickering hallway light. Her face is pale, her hair damp from the rain that's crept in through the cracks in the old house. Her eyes are wide and uncertain, and for the first time since she arrived here, she doesn't look calm. She looks like a woman carrying too much weight. I'm sitting in the parlor, the safe in the corner like a silent witness to everything that's about to happen. The journal is in my lap, my hands clenched around it. The air is thick with the scent of lavender and rain, each breath heavy with the past. Lorraine, Eleanor says quietly, stepping inside and closing the door behind her. I know you found the camera. I meet her eyes, my voice brittle and sharp. Yes, I did, and I want to know why you were recording me. She doesn't flinch. She walks closer, her steps measured until she's standing in the circle of lamplight. I did it for you, she says softly, for your protection. The words taste like betrayal on my tongue. Protection? From what, Eleanor? My own children. She nods, her shoulders sagging. Yes, from them, from what they were planning. The power flickers again, the room plunged into darkness. In that brief moment, I hear only the sound of her breathing, ragged and uneven. When the light returns, I see the glint of tears in her eyes. "I wasn't sent here to hurt you," she says, her voice breaking. "I was sent here because I know what it feels like to be erased, to be told you're too much trouble, too much weight for someone else to carry." I watch her carefully, my heart pounding in my chest. "What are you talking about?" She draws in a shaky breath. "My mother was like yours," she says, her voice soft but clear. "She taught me to be silent, to never need too much, never want too much. My father, he didn't see me at all. I learned to disappear in my own home." I hear the echo of my mother's voice in her words, feel the sharp sting of memories I've tried so hard to bury, the way my mother's cold eyes would slide over me, the way my father's hand would rest heavy on my shoulder but never linger, the way I learned to fold myself into small spaces, to be the woman they needed, not the woman I was. "I thought I'd escaped it," Eleanor continues, her hands twisting together. "But I married a man just like my father. He made me believe that my only worth was in what I could do for him. And when he was done with me, he threw me away like an old coat." The thunder outside shakes the walls, the candle on the mantel flickering in the sudden draft. In that small golden light, her face is open and raw, and I see the truth in her eyes. "I came here thinking I was just doing a job," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "But when I saw the way they talked to you, the way they treated you like you didn't matter, I saw myself, and I couldn't let that happen." My throat tightens, tears stinging my eyes. "You're saying you did it for me," I whisper, "not for them." She nods, her eyes never leaving mine. "Yes, I recorded them because I wanted to give you proof, so they couldn't say you were imagining it, so they couldn't take everything from you." The words hang in the air, heavy with the weight of everything we've both carried for too long. The storm outside feels distant now, the only sound the crackle of the candle as it gutters in the draft. I let out a long, shuddering breath, the fight in me faltering. "All my life I've tried to be the woman they told me to be," I say, my voice trembling. "Quiet, grateful, never asking for too much. And all it's gotten me is this house full of ghosts, this family that doesn't see me." Eleanor steps closer, her hands reaching for mine. "You're not invisible, Lorraine," she says fiercely, "not to me." Our hands meet in the flickering light, and I feel the warmth of her skin, the quiet strength there. For the first time in what feels like forever, I'm not alone. Not really. "You showed up," I say, tears spilling down my cheeks, "when no one else did." She smiles, a small, broken thing. "Because I know what it's like to want someone to see you, to really see you." The storm rattles the windows again, but inside, there's a fragile calm. I look at the safe in the corner, the new will locked inside. My decision feels final now, not just an act of desperation, but an act of trust, an act of hope. "I want you to have it," I say, my voice steady even as my hands shake. "Everything, the house, the money, my legacy, because you're the only one who's shown me what family should be." Eleanor's eyes widen, her lips parting in shock. "Lorraine." "No," I interrupt gently. "Don't argue. You've earned it, Eleanor. You've earned it in ways they never did." We stand there in the candlelight, two women bound together by pain and something deeper, something like redemption. She nods, a single tear slipping down her cheek. "Then I promise," she says softly, "I'll protect it. I'll protect you." The storm outside begins to ebb, the wind softening into a gentle sigh. The house feels different now, the shadows less menacing, the weight of generations of silence lifting from my shoulders. But just as the peace settles around us, a figure appears in the doorway. Jackson. His face is pale, his eyes wide, and I know he's heard every word. "Mom?" he says, his voice rough with shock. "What have you done?" For a moment, the room holds its breath. Eleanor's hand tightens around mine, a silent promise that we're in this together now. But Jackson's face is unreadable, caught between betrayal and something else I can't quite name. I swallow hard, my heart pounding. "I've done what I had to do, Jackson," I say, my voice calm and sure. I've chosen who deserves my trust, who deserves this family's name. His eyes flick to Eleanor, then back to me. The storm outside has quieted, but the storm in this room is just beginning. The storm has passed, leaving the world hushed and damp in its wake. The faint light of dawn pushes through the curtains, painting the room in soft, tentative colors. In the quiet, everything feels sharper. The smell of rain-soaked earth drifting in from the garden, the tick of the grandfather clock, and the weight of everything that's been left unsaid. Jackson sits across from me in the living room, his hands twisting in his lap. He's pale, eyes shadowed and wary. Eleanor stands just behind me, a quiet sentinel, her presence a steady warmth at my back. The air between us is heavy with the memory of the night before, of words spoken that can't be taken back. I need to know, I say, my voice low but steady. Tell me the truth, Jackson. Were you part of it? He flinches at the question, his fingers tightening around each other. No, Mom, he says quickly, his voice ragged. I swear, I was never part of Valerie's plans. I didn't know she was selling the house, or that she was trying to take everything from you. Then why? I press, my words laced with a bitterness I can't hide. Why did you stand by and watch? Why didn't you say something, anything to stop her? He swallows hard, his shoulders slumping. Because I was weak, he admits, his voice cracking. I saw what she was doing, and I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know how to fight her. Valerie's always been so sure, so determined, and I... His voice breaks, and he buries his face in his hands. I was too scared to stand up to her. I thought if I just stayed quiet, maybe it would all blow over. The words cut deeper than I expected, the echo of my own past ringing in them. I see in Jackson the same fear that kept me silent for years, the fear of rocking the boat, of speaking a truth that no one wants to hear. I taught you that, I say softly, the admission tasting like ash on my tongue. I taught you to stay quiet, to be grateful for what you had and never ask for more. That was my lesson to you, and to Valerie. I thought it would keep you safe, but it only kept you small. He looks up at me then, his eyes glistening. I didn't want to be like that, he whispers. I didn't want to be the kind of son who just watches while his mother's world falls apart. I nod slowly, the weight of my own guilt settling over me. I know, I say, but you're here now. That matters. Eleanor moves to stand beside me, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder. Her presence grounds me, a quiet force that steadies the chaos swirling in my heart. Jackson, she says gently, her voice firm but kind. Your mother needs you now. Not as a son who's afraid, but as a man who's willing to stand with her. Jackson's gaze shifts to Eleanor, something like resolve flickering in his eyes. He takes a deep breath, his shoulders squaring. I want to be that man, he says, his voice stronger now. I want to make this right, Mom, if you'll let me. I search his face, seeing the boy he used to be and the man he's trying to become. My heart aches with love and disappointment, but also with the fragile, trembling hope of something like forgiveness. I don't know if I can ever forget what's been done, I say honestly. But I can try to forgive. If you're willing to fight for me now, really fight, I'll let you. He nods, tears slipping down his cheeks. I am, Mom. I swear I am. The dawn grows brighter, the room warming with the first gentle light of day. We sit there in the hush, the three of us bound together by blood and secrets, and the quiet possibility of something new. Eleanor's hand stays on my shoulder, her thumb tracing small circles against my skin. She doesn't speak, but her presence says everything. She's here and she's not going anywhere. In her steady calm, I find the strength I didn't know I still had. I lean back against the couch, closing my eyes for a moment. The ache in my bones is sharp, but beneath it, there's a flicker of something else, a quiet defiance that feels like a spark in the darkness. I won't let this family's legacy be one of silence and fear, I say, my voice quiet but sure. I've spent my whole life trying to be what everyone else needed, but I'm done with that. I'm going to be what I need now. Jackson nods, his eyes clear, his shoulders set. We'll make it right, Mom. Together. For a moment, there's peace, a fragile, fleeting thing, but real. The sun breaks over the horizon outside the window, turning the world to gold. The rain has stopped, the air fresh and clean. I think of my mother, of her cold eyes and sharp tongue. I think of the generations of women who learned to swallow their voices, who believed that love was earned only through obedience and sacrifice. I think of the way I taught Valerie and Jackson those same lessons and how it nearly broke us all. But no more. I won't let those ghosts have the last word. My voice is mine and I will use it. I reach for Jackson's hand, our fingers intertwining. It's time to start again, I say softly, on our terms. He squeezes my hand, a small, fierce smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. On our terms, he echoes. Eleanor leans in, her voice low and sure. We'll make sure they hear you, Lorraine. All of them. The weight of generations presses down on me still, but I feel it shift. Lighter somehow, no longer something that chains me to the past. In its place, there's a fragile hope, a sense of possibility. The dawn outside grows brighter, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself believe in the promise of a new day. The morning light pours through the window in slanting beams, catching the motes of dust that dance in the air like ghosts. The scent of strong coffee and old paper fills the room, grounding me in this moment that feels both impossibly final and quietly triumphant. Mr. Collins sits across from me at the dining table, his briefcase open, the updated will laid out between us. The document is stark and official, the black ink a final testament to the life I have chosen to claim as my own. My hand hovers over the page, pen poised like a dagger ready to cut through decades of silence. Are you sure? Mr. Collins asks, his voice low and even, his eyes meeting mine. There's no turning back once this is done, Lorraine. I nod slowly, my fingers tightening around the pen. I've never been more certain of anything, I say, my voice calm and sure. It surprises even me, this quiet certainty, this bone-deep determination that feels like a flame in my chest. He slides the document a little closer. Then let's begin. I take a breath, feeling the weight of everything that brought me to this point. My mother's cold lessons, my father's distance, Peter's indifference, Valerie's ruthless practicality, and Jackson's quiet fear. All of it led me here, to this room, this moment, to the woman I've decided to be. I sign my name with a steady hand, each stroke of the pen a small rebellion, a declaration that I am no longer a woman willing to be erased. My signature is bold and unflinching, a testament to the strength I've spent a lifetime hiding. As the ink dries on the paper, I feel a strange, quiet relief settle over me. It's as if the world has been holding its breath, waiting for me to claim my place in it. For the first time in years, I feel seen, not as a patient or a burden or a relic of the past, but as a woman who still matters. Mr. Collins watches me closely, his expression unreadable. It's done, he says quietly, the finality of the words ringing in the air. Valerie and Jackson have been removed. The estate will pass to Eleanor, as you've instructed. A flicker of sadness passes through me, grief for what I've lost, for the family I once believed we could be. But underneath it, there's a glimmer of hope, too. Hope that maybe this choice is the first step in breaking the cycle that has haunted us for generations. I look down at the will, my name written in sharp black ink. This is mine, my voice, my decision. Eleanor stands a few feet away, her hands folded in front of her, her face calm, but her eyes shimmering with something that looks like both pride and disbelief. She's been my quiet anchor through all of this, the only one who showed up when everyone else turned away. I meet her gaze, offering a small, fragile smile. You've been more family to me than they ever were, I say softly, and I want you to have this, all of it. She swallows hard, her eyes glistening. I'll take care of it, Lorraine, she promises. I'll take care of you. I nod, the words a balm against the ache of old wounds. I know. For a moment there's peace in the room, a hush that feels sacred, a promise of something new and unbroken. Mr. Collins gathers the papers, his movements careful and deliberate. You've done something remarkable today, he says as he closes the briefcase. You've chosen to be seen. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. It feels like the first real choice I've ever made. I admit, my voice low and raw. The sun shifts higher in the sky, the light turning the room to gold. It feels like a blessing, like a new beginning waiting just beyond the horizon. But that fragile peace is shattered in an instant. The front door bursts open and Valerie storms into the room, her face twisted with fury. She looks around wildly, her eyes landing on the briefcase, the papers, and then on me. "What have you done?" she spits out, her voice sharp enough to cut. "You think you can just erase us? Rewrite everything we built?" I feel the sting of her words, but I refuse to flinch. "I did what I had to do," I say, my voice steady. "I chose the person who was there for me when you weren't." Her eyes narrow, her mouth a hard, thin line. "I won't let you do this, Mother. I'll contest it. I'll fight you in court if I have to." Mr. Collins clears his throat, his voice calm but firm. "The will is legal and binding, Valerie. Your mother's wishes are clear." Valerie rounds on him, her eyes flashing. "I don't care what the papers say. She's not in her right mind. She's confused, manipulated. She doesn't know what she's doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing," I interrupt, my voice rising above hers for the first time. "And I'm done letting you decide what's best for me." Her face crumples, rage and grief warring in her eyes. "How can you choose a stranger over your own children?" she whispers, her voice trembling. I hold her gaze, my heart breaking even as I stand my ground. "Because she saw me, Valerie," I say quietly. "She saw me when you didn't." The silence that follows is sharp and heavy. Eleanor moves closer, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder, a silent reminder that I am not alone. Valerie looks at me like she doesn't recognize me, like the woman sitting here isn't the mother she's always known, and maybe she doesn't. Maybe that's the point. "You'll regret this," she says finally, her voice flat and cold. "I promise you, you'll regret it." She turns and stalks out of the room, the door slamming shut behind her like a final, echoing judgment. For a moment, I just sit there, the quiet settling around me like a shroud. My hands are still shaking, but my heart is calm. I've chosen my path, and I won't turn back now. Eleanor squeezes my shoulder gently, her touch steady and warm. "You're not alone, Lorraine," she says softly. "Not anymore." I close my eyes, letting the truth of her words sink into my bones. The final document sits on the table, my name etched in bold, black ink, a testament to the woman I've chosen to be. For the first time in a long time, I feel truly alive. The air in the living room is brittle and cold, a quiet that feels like it might shatter at any moment. The winter light is sharp, the pale sun offering no warmth as it spills across the hardwood floor. Valerie stands in the doorway, her hands clenched at her sides, her eyes bright with fury and heartbreak. For a moment, none of us move. The weight of everything we've said and done hangs between us, thick and suffocating. Eleanor stands beside me, her presence a steady calm in the storm. Her hand is a quiet strength at my shoulder, a reminder that I'm not alone this time. Valerie's voice cuts through the silence, sharp and accusing. "How could you do this to me?" she demands, her words trembling with rage. "To us? After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me?" I take a slow breath, feeling the ache of old wounds and the fragile defiance that's taken root in their place. "This isn't about repayment," I say softly, my voice steady. "This is about what's right, about what's mine." She shakes her head, tears glistening in her eyes. "I sacrificed everything for you, Mother. My life, my time, everything. I did what I thought was best for you." "You did what was best for you," I correct gently. "You took what you wanted and told yourself it was for me. But it was never about me. It was always about control." Her lips part in a soundless gasp, her face pale and stricken. The truth lands between us, heavy and final. "You've always needed to be in charge," I continue, my voice low but unwavering. "You needed to decide what my life would be, what my legacy would become. But this is no longer yours to take." The words taste like iron on my tongue, but I know they're the truth. And for the first time, I don't feel guilty for saying them. Valerie's shoulders shake with a ragged breath, her anger giving way to something more fragile, something like grief. I don't understand you, she whispers. I never have. I know, I say quietly. The air in the living room is brittle and cold, a quiet that feels like it might shatter at any moment. The winter light is sharp, the pale sun offering no warmth as it spills across the hardwood floor. Valerie stands in the doorway, her hands clenched at her sides, her eyes bright with fury and heartbreak. For a moment, none of us move. The weight of everything we've said and done hangs between us, thick and suffocating. Eleanor stands beside me, her presence a steady calm in the storm. Her hand is a quiet strength at my shoulder, a reminder that I'm not alone this time. Valerie's voice cuts through the silence, sharp and accusing. How could you do this to me? She demands, her words trembling with rage. To us? After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? I take a slow breath, feeling the ache of old wounds and the fragile defiance that's taken root in their place. This isn't about repayment, I say softly, my voice steady. This is about what's right, about what's mine. She shakes her head, tears glistening in her eyes. I sacrificed everything for you, Mother. My life, my time, everything. I did what I thought was best for you. You did what was best for you, I correct gently. You took what you wanted and told yourself it was for me. But it was never about me. It was always about control. Her lips part in a soundless gasp, her face pale and stricken. The truth lands between us, heavy and final. You've always needed to be in charge, I continue, my voice low but unwavering. You needed to decide what my life would be, what my legacy would become. But this is no longer yours to take. The words taste like iron on my tongue, but I know they're the truth. And for the first time, I don't feel guilty for saying them. Valerie's shoulders shake with a ragged breath, her anger giving way to something more fragile, something like grief. I don't understand you, she whispers. I never have. I know, I say quietly. Spring arrives with a kind of quiet splendor, the first warm light of morning spilling across the worn wooden floors of the living room. The house feels different now, lighter somehow, the air scented with the promise of new beginnings. The daffodils outside the window sway in the breeze, a bright yellow testament to life's quiet persistence. I sit at the small table by the window, a vase of fresh flowers in the center. Their colors are bright and hopeful, soft petals brushing against the glass as if to remind me that even the coldest winter gives way to spring. The scent of lavender soap lingers faintly in the room, a small, comforting reminder of Eleanor's steady care. In this soft light, I think about everything that has brought me here. The choices I made, the truths I uncovered, and the lies I let go of. The price of that truth was steep, the final, quiet fracture of a family I thought would be my shelter forever. But it was also a gift, a chance to be seen at last, not as a patient or a relic, but as a woman who still matters. Eleanor moves around the room with a gentle efficiency, her hands busy with small tasks that make the house feel like a home again. She pauses by the table, a faint smile tugging at her lips as she meets my gaze. You seem lighter today, she says, her voice soft but sure, like a weight is lifted. It has, I say, my voice quiet but certain. For the first time in my life, I chose to see myself, to speak the truth even when it hurt. She nods, placing a hand on my shoulder. You did more than that, Lorraine. You chose to live. I let out a slow breath, feeling the truth of her words settle into my bones. I think I finally understand what it means to belong, not because someone else tells you that you do, but because you decide it for yourself. She squeezes my shoulder gently. And you're not alone in that anymore. We sit together in the calm that follows, the sunlight warming our skin, the faint echo of laughter from children playing outside, drifting in through the open window. I close my eyes, letting the sounds wash over me. Once, the silence in this house felt like a punishment, each quiet moment a reminder of everything I'd lost. Now the quiet feels like a gift, a space for hope to bloom. Eleanor pours us each a cup of tea, the steam curling into the air like a soft sigh. We sit in the glow of the morning light, our words small and simple, but each one a thread that binds us closer. I've been thinking, she says, her fingers wrapped around the delicate china cup, about what comes next for both of us. I smile, the smallest flicker of excitement sparking in my chest. What did you have in mind? She hesitates for a moment, then meets my gaze, her eyes steady and clear. I'd like to stay. Not as your caretaker, though I'll always be that in some way, but as someone who cares for you, for this home, for the life we're building here. The words warm me from the inside out. I'd like that, I say softly. I'd like that very much. We sit in a companionable silence, the weight of old wounds and old ghosts slowly lifting. I think about my mother, her cold eyes and tight-lipped silences, about my father's distant approval and the way I learned to bend myself to fit someone else's vision of what I should be. I think about Valerie and Jackson, about the hurt we gave each other in trying to live up to expectations that never fit, and I think about the small, stubborn piece of me that refused to be erased, even when everything else was falling apart. I see it now, I say, my voice low. How the past shaped us, how it taught us to be afraid of our own voices, but I'm done living in that shadow. Eleanor's smile is soft but resolute. You've come so far, Lorraine, and you're stronger than you've ever been. I take a slow sip of tea, the warmth settling in my chest. I still feel the ache of it, I admit, the loss, the regret, but I also feel something else, something like hope. She nods, her eyes bright. That's what matters, not the scars we carry, but the fact that we're still here, still choosing to grow. The room is quiet but alive with possibility. Outside, the branches of the old oak tree sway in the breeze, their new leaves catching the light like tiny emerald flames. I watch them dance and think about the roots that hold them steady, the way they bend and sway but never break. I realize that's what I am, too, a woman whose roots run deep, even if the storms of life have bent her low. A woman who has finally learned that strength isn't in silence but in the choice to speak, to stand, to claim what's hers. The story of my life isn't one of perfection or even of neat, happy endings. It's a story of resilience, of finding light in the darkness and hope in the cracks of a broken heart. It's a story of choosing to love, even when it means letting go. I look around the room, at the fresh flowers, the warm light, the small, steady presence of Eleanor beside me. I think about the laughter that once echoed here, and the laughter that might come again. And I know, with a certainty that feels like peace, that this is enough. I take Eleanor's hand in mine, our fingers intertwining. Let's build something new, I say softly, something that's ours and no one else's. She smiles, a promise in that quiet curve of her lips. Yes, she says. Let's. As the spring sunlight streams into the room, I feel the weight of the past ease at last. My grief is still there, a low hum in my bones, but it no longer drowns out the quiet, steady beat of hope. I know there will be hard days ahead, days when the silence feels heavy again, or when the shadows of the past creep back in, but I also know that I'm not alone, that I am no longer a woman waiting to be seen. I am a woman who has chosen to see herself, and in that choice, I find something that feels like peace, something that feels like belonging. Unlock the secrets hidden behind quiet smiles and family portraits. Join us as we peel back the layers of betrayal, redemption, and second chances. Discover what happens when the past won't stay buried and the future must be claimed. Let this story take you somewhere you didn't expect and somewhere you won't forget.